There's two questions here that are quite similar. I'm going to read them both. So, Jay McElfresh, do you think WWE effed up by putting Doug and Danny together as the Bashams? If they would have kept Danny as a single and push damager gimmick, do you think he could have had a run at the top of the card? And now I'm going to sort of follow that up with, where the heck was it? This is more OVW changes after John Laurinaitis took over as WWE Talent Relations VP.
Okay, as far as the Bashams were really, really good workers. They understood pro wrestling. But then they put Linda Miles with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda was probably 6'1.5" legit. Then she'd wear them heels or whatever. So now all of a sudden she's taller than the Bashams. And they were young, jacked, could work. But instead of them being tough guys, looking like they were, if they had the tats, the drug lore or whatever, this tough ass guys from the street, then the audience is torn where they got this girl, and Linda was a good wrestler. She didn't like wrestling, but she could throw better punches than the guys. She was more athletic than most of the guys. But the Bashams were a good tag team. And if they could have stayed on there 5 more years, they'd have been really, 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 really good. But you get brought up and they look at you, and if Bret Hart started out as Cowboy Bret Hart, some guys get 3 or 4 characters, some guys do something wrong or don't do nothing wrong, and they're let go. You just don't know, and you can get let go for no reason.
Jumping off from the Bashams thing, so it's a famous story. I think Jim Cornette tells it best. Is John Laurinaitis takes over or starts making more decisions in WWE, starts pushing more directives onto OVW that make no sense. Someone from creative or whoever says, I don't know if it's Doug or Danny, makes him shave the head. Oh, we just wanted to see what he looked bald. That. Oh
yeah,
that
was Doug. And then Jimmy got mad and said, well, if I'd have known that, we could have done some angle. He could have had a hair match and hopefully draw some money with it, right? But instead, all of a sudden, this Doug just shows up. But then again, WWE sent the check every week, so they kept us in business and kept our pockets lined with gold for a while. So what the hell, right?
When did WWE start interfering more and more in like day-to-day OVW operations? Do you remember?
I don't really know. I just know I went there and trained guys every day, and a lot of the guys weren't very good, and they got called up. That might been like they had a big guarantee and they were getting paid that money to learn. Brock was making $5,000 a week to learn. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then some of the other guys, now when we had OVW, we had all the contract guys, but I got 70 guys jobs with WWE that come through the beginners program, like Santino, like JTG, like Mike Mondo, like Johnny Jeter, like Serena Deeb, and all the originals of Nick Dinsmore and Rob Conway and Bash. They were all OVW guys from the little building we had. So, but a lot of the guys walked in. JTG used to take a bus from Brooklyn to come into class. Then he moved to OVW, but then he had a lot of guys had good runs and they started out in beginner's class, but they weren't the chosen few. They were the ones that I treated them all the same. I treated them like dogs. I was on their ass because I had to make them good. And they're going to go into this. If they get brought up, they're going to be in with guys that are veterans, and the veterans hate them because they might take their job. That's like if you were a masked man, every masked man hates you. If you were a black guy, every black guy hates you. If you were a Puerto Rican or a German, no matter what you were, if you were a white meat baby face, they only carry so many tackles on the NFL, so many quarterbacks on the team. And they wanted so many of each demographic was what they wanted. So I taught everybody I learned how to call it in the ring, work baby face, work heel. I taught the girls to work with guys. And okay, now you're bigger, you're smaller, which we covered that earlier. And I took it upon myself to make everybody good. And I didn't, but I also knew that if somebody liked somebody else, they were in. And it helps to be married to somebody's brother, a second or third generation wrestler, or whatever. And such is the politics of wrestling, which has always been there, or any job, it's the same shit. No matter what it is, it's all who you know.
Now, there was apparently a list internally in OVW. I don't know if it was just Jim who wrote it, or Danny Davis did, or you did, or maybe all three of you, where there was a list of best prospects in OVW to the worst prospects. Let's say a list of 20 people or whatever. You'd send it to WWE, and they say you want to get 1, 2, and 3. Let's say number one's Nick Dinsmore, whoever, and they would pick 18, 19, and 20 because they had the best bodies. Do you remember any? Right. Did you help with the lists or anything like that?
No, I would just tell Danny, because I wanted to be left alone so I could coach. And and Dr. Tom was my boss. Every day I would fax something. This is what we did. And I had everything laid out. He never told me one thing to do or what not to do. He just wanted guys good and could handle it. So that's all we did. And Dr. Tom's a sweetheart, and he's one of the best. So when it was me and Danny and Jimmy Cornette and Dr. Tom, we never had any problems with anything. I just did my job and shut up, because I consider Jimmy Cornette the smartest guy I've ever met in wrestling as far as explaining stuff. He's just awesome. And he'd be like Albert Einstein. He's the Albert Einstein of wrestling. And the Mark can't understand it. And when he would go off, he had a passion for this business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which you got to make it in this business, you got to be special. And to make it in this business and not to be 6'6" and 300 pounds taking steroids, you got to be special. And to make it when you're not related to somebody, you don't really know anybody, you just stick out. You know what I mean? Mm. But time in OVW, loved every minute of it. It was very hard. And just because we made recommendations of who the best ones were, they don't care. No, they don't give a shit. They got their money invested in Brock and Shelton and Batista and
Mark Jindrak. There was a name that I always thought, a body and a good look.
Yeah, Mark was a great athlete. And I remember he got in the ring one night. He come home for something, and I said, Mark, put wrestling boots on. He said, I'm just going to do a little bit of stuff. So he did a little bit of stuff, and he didn't break his ankle. He sprained it so bad, it messed him up for months and months and months. So that was that. So you just don't ever know how you're going to get hurt. I blew my quad out just getting up, and my quad exploded. Did I go to the doctor? No. It still exploded. So what? You know, we're doing a phony wrestling. Man, me and Regal were wrestling in England. I slipped, and all I did was get up, and boom, my quad. So I think you tore your quad, love. I did, but then we went 40. I said, what are we going to do? I said, we'll just do some song and dance. We'll just do some comedy, which was great. And now we got from here to there to quad and whatever. But you got to remember, I'm half senile.